Hell, that's what I'm trying to go. Hello, everyone. Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. First of all, apologies for A, a little bit longer than usual stream starting screen, and B, some slight technical difficulties in getting over to the in-game screen. As far as the delay goes, I just heard the mail come in, and I was expecting a delivery. Turns out a delivery I was expecting was coming in through USPS. So I was able to get that, and we'll crack that at the end of this video. As for the delays getting to the right game screen, well, the laptop is sometimes a little bit difficult to work with in streaming. But as the broadcast suggests, we are debuting the most popular role-playing game in the world as we play Dungeons and Dragons from Wizards of the Coast. Now, I will fully admit that I have not played D&D in over 20 years, certainly since I've been in high school, and that was 3.5, which I also have the main books for that. I've got the Dungeon Master's Guide, Player's Handbook, and the Monster Manual for that as well. So that might be a system I'm looking to get into on the channel as well. I do have the character sheets that go with that. But we are going to be playing 5th edition today, and we're going to be using some solo tools to help me make my life easier on that. So what we're going to do is I've actually got a giant binder off shot where I'm going to be using the Solo Adventurers Toolkit to go through. I'm going to be using the Solo Adventurers Toolkit here to go through a solo adventure. We'll probably stream for probably about an hour and change. I want to get a feel for some of these new tools because I want to test out the Oracle that comes with this. I've used the keywords table before, and there's a 6012 system for quickly fleshing out a map area that I want to test out as well. So hopefully we'll get to see our paces on that. But of course, we need characters, and I've got my pencil in here, thankfully, so I can erase anything if I need to. If you've been around the channel for a little while, you may recognize these characters as the two characters I've been preparing. So our first character that we've got is going to be represented by this mini when we get over to a map situation. We've got Burrell Amastasia, a high elf wizard. We saw her backstory as we built it up in Call to Adventure, and I generated her stats the classic way. So she's got a 10 in Strength, 14 Dexterity and Constitution, 17 Intelligence, 16 Wisdom, and 13 Charisma. We're going to be starting everybody at level 1 and trying to build an adventure from nothing, because I want to see how these tools work. Accompanying her today, we have using a halfling, we've got Lyndall Brushgather. This is a character I rolled up completely on the channel, using Roll Player to roll up his stats, and then Call to Adventure to roll up his backstory. But I modified it by the actual racial values. So we've got a strength of 15, a dexterity of 16, 18 constitution, 14 intelligence, 13 wisdom, and 15 charisma. So that is our halfling ranger that we're going to be going for. And you see the 60-12s up here, which represent different elements of the map. So just to intro that, we'll be using the red die to represent monsters, orange die to represent any kind of clues, gold for environment features. Actually, let me just bring these up here. Let's bring it up here. So red is going to be monsters, orange is going to be clues, gold for environment features, teal for any NPCs, black for treasure, and purple for random events. So we'll see how all of that works when we need the D12 system. But I'm not going to worry about using Mythic just yet, because I want to test out how this system generates from scratch. And we will have journal entries throughout this. So I think we are all set here. So let's say we jump into this, and I think our first question is going to be in terms of Burrell and Lyndall's relationship. So the question I want to put to the Oracle, this one I'll show. So I'll show how the Oracle works. So the Oracle, you're going to frame a yes/no question from this. It'll be very similar to Mythic that we've used on the channel before if you've been watching for Call of Cthulhu. Then you can modify the question based on the likelihood, and then you'll roll a d20 to get the result. So you'll see here that if we get a result in a 1 to 2, we've got no and. 3 to 7 is a no. 8 to 9 is a no but. 10 is a maybe, which could take a re-roll or maybe a clarifying question. 11 to 12 is a yes but. 13 to 18 is a yes. 19 to 20 is a yes and. Not sure how I feel about having maybes in the. I'm not sure how I feel about having maybes in the Oracle rolls. I'm just going to crack open a new set of dice that I got from the game store earlier this afternoon. But we won't be using those dice. Those are going to go in the bag. If we need opposed rolls of any kind, we'll have Lyndall using these brown dice that you might have seen before with Call of Cthulhu. Lyndall will be using these. Burrell will be using purple dice. So I think the first question that we want to put to the Oracle is, have Burrell and Lyndall met before? And I'm going to modify that with a likely modifier to give a +3 to the Oracle roll. The reason I'm doing that is because Burrell likes being in nature, being an elf, and Lyndall, being a ranger, has the same reaction to being in nature. So we'll grab a d20 roll and we'll see if they've met. That's an 11 plus 3 is 14. So that's a yes. They have met before. So now let's see if we can figure out how they've met. And that will take a roll on the keywords table. The way we'll roll on the keywords table, so there's actually a giant keywords table in the Solo Adventurers Toolkit, similar to verbs that you might have seen in Call of Cthulhu when I was using the Solo Investigator's Handbook. So we'll roll a d8 plus a d100. Instead of the way they say, I'm going to take the d8 roll -1. So if I were to roll, for example, let's say I roll a 703 like that. The 8-sided die will be a -1. So I'll take that as a 603, which means I'd go to the keyword table and find 603 is for knowledge. So I'd use that to modify how they've met. So now we need to get a keyword. So let's make a roll on the keyword table to see how they've met. Let's see, that is a 353, which is going to turn into a 253 costume. Maybe a costume party of some kind, possibly? Let's do one more roll. Maybe I can flesh that out a little bit more. That's going to be a 628, which is going to drop to a 528. Costume portal. So maybe Burrell was learning some of her magic and inadvertently opened a portal into nature, found it so peaceful that she stayed around. That doesn't really bring Lyndall into it, though. Maybe they opened into a costume party or something in the forest, and Lyndall happened to be there. So I think we'll go with that. So that's how Burrell, playing with portal magic, stepped into a halfling costume party or something. Stepped into a halfling costume party where Lyndall was. So now the next question I want to put to the Oracle is, are they friends? And I feel like with the friendly nature, actually, let me make sure this is accurate in the player's handbook. But my initial thought is the halflings have a very friendly nature, especially when two characters have a love of nature in common, like Burrell and Lyndall do. Let me just make sure friendly nature, like I said, I want to make sure friendly nature from halflings is accurate before I run with the idea of a modifier on that. Adept at fitting in, work readily and loyal to their friends. Affable and cheerful. So yeah, I think we are going to call it a likely that these two are friends. So I'm going to modify that by another +3. So let's get our D20 roll here. That's a 10 plus 3 is 13. Just barely yes, but they are friends. So let's see, what else might I want to know? Let me start off by putting together a small, introductory journal entry of how I think, of what I think, of how this story is kind of coming through, and then we'll see how I want to continue with that. So, Dungeons and Dragons, journal entry, Burrell, Anastasia, and Lyndall Brushgather. So I'm going to put the stream into be right back, but I will be around to interact with chat while I put this journal entry together. So let's see, intro. Let's call it that. Okay, so entry 1 for the adventure. So I've got a very brief intro. We'll tab back in and we'll go through the intro just to tell a little bit of the story of how Burrell and Lyndall met. Burrell Anastasia and Lyndall Brushgather met many years ago when Burrell accidentally created a portal to a halfling costume party in a clearing in the middle of the forest of Dexia. Given the halfling Lyndall's friendly nature, it didn't take long for Burrell to befriend the halfling ranger. The two explored the forest and bonded over their love of nature. So next question that I want to put here, since we're running with this kingdom called Dexia, are they still there? Let's call it a 50-50. That's an 8. So no but. No but. Let's go keywords. Actually, maybe no, but they're not far from it. So now the question becomes, what are they doing? What are they doing away from Dexia? Basically, what's their adventure here? Let's go to the keywords table, see what we can roll up from that. As, of course, I drop a die. Didn't mean to jar the camera, so my apologies on that as well. And I'm still dropping dice. This is why I usually use the dice cup or some kind of shaker. Let's see, 52, knowledge. That's a 199. Knowledge, disease. Knowledge, disease, 128, dungeon. Knowledge, disease, and dungeon. Okay, so the question is, so one of their kingdoms is being ravaged by, so maybe they're away from Dexia because Dexia is currently in the grip of a death plague, or a plague of some kind. But so Lyndall and Burrell are away trying to find a cure for this plague. Now how does the dungeon come into it? But maybe they've gotten trapped in a dungeon, so now they've got to find their way out. Let's see. Just going to make some notes. Trapped in a dungeon. Which probably begs the question now, how did they get... either how or why did they get trapped in a dungeon? How/why. Let's go back to the keywords table. Maybe that'll give us some ideas. So let's look at why first. That is a 96 rundown. That's a straight 8. Well, $675. Where is 675? Here we go. Punish. So rundown, well, and punish. Maybe they started tracing the disease to a well of water, possibly, but because maybe they started getting close to the answer, but they had to run away and ended up getting captured. So close to answer in well water. Had to run. And now they're trapped in the aforementioned dungeon. So now we're locked away in this dungeon, and I do have a set of maps for that for later, so that's great timing. So now we're trapped in the dungeon. Now we need to figure out what... hopefully there's like a dungeon generator in here. Castle generator? So actually we don't want... let me see something. Is there a way in here that I can generate a dungeon? Of course not. Let's see, dungeon encounters, we don't need that yet. Okay, so now that's kind of where we're at. Now we need to figure out what we want to do here. I don't think either character is very good at... Actually, now we want to see if... we should probably see if there's any kind of, like, magical... we should see if there's any kind of trap here. Like something magical or anything like that. So, with that in mind... I think... let's see, what do I want to do with this? So they're trapped in a dungeon, and now they need to find their way out. So what do we want to do here? Let me think about this for a minute. If you guys are in chat and have any ideas, feel free to chip them in as well. So so we're trapped in a dungeon at this point. I guess the question is, are we disturbed at this point? Let's roll. So we're looking at our situation, trying to think of a way out. So let's see if we're disturbed. That's a 2, no, and. So we're about to have problems here. I almost feel like I need to move this along. So I think we are going to rule that we are getting disturbed. Let's see if there's an NPC generator. There's like a way I can get an NPC out of this. Keywords, item, Bane, boon. Random item and relics. Maybe a lair... No, I don't want a lair generator. Maybe I do, actually. Is there a way I can get dungeon out of here? Actually, you know what I could do here? Maybe this is a good time for the 6012 feature. Let's see, solo... This isn't giving me what I want, though. I was hoping to find an NPC or something. That's a street by street. That's not what I want either coming out of this. All right, so actually, let's see. Let's roll for a. So they're trapped in a dungeon. Okay, here's a question that I do want to ask: Are they Are they free to move, or are they free to move around? Free to move around and explore their surroundings. Like, are they locked in a cell, or do they have some kind of mobility? That's a 7. No. So they're probably locked away in a cell of some kind. Which is causing me a little bit of a problem because I'm trying to brainstorm where I want to go with this. So they're not free to move around, which means we need to get them out somehow. So the question is there anything that we see in this area? So can we see anything as we're trapped? That's a 12. Yes, but. All right, let's see if we can. Let's roll for a key. Let's roll for a keyword or two. See if we can get some clarification on what the yes, but is going to find. Let's see. That's going to be a 486. 46 decayed. Decayed. Let's see, 38. Decayed sarcophagus. So maybe someone died down here and they put the casket, they put a sarcophagus down here and forgot about it. I don't know. Someone died. Left a sarcophagus down here. Forgot about it. Okay, next question is the sarcophagus open? Because I guess what I'm trying to figure out is we need to figure out a way for these two to get out. The sarcophagus, no but. So the sarcophagus isn't open, but the smell is coming through and it's going to get unbearable soon. So now let's have them both roll perception checks to see if they sense anything. So a perception is coming off of a wisdom check. So Burrell has actually got great perception. She's going to have a +3 on this, and I believe there's a proficiency bonus of some kind if you have the proficiency in it. So let me look into that here. I am very much learning this game because it's, like I said, it's been over 20 years since I've played this game. So see under wisdom. The wisdom perception 178. Okay, your wisdom lets you spot, hear, or otherwise detect something. All right, so we're basically looking for any way out. Let's see who can find it. So once again, just to explain the roles, we've got D20s. The purple is for Burrell. The brown is for Lyndall. Burrell rolled a natural 1, so she doesn't find anything. Lyndall, however, will listen to... Actually, hang on. So Burrell nat 1, and that's going to be a... We're going to call that a... That's a 19 for Lyndall. Maybe Burrell is brooding in her own thoughts and doesn't hear anything. Whereas Lyndall, however, can hear that they're around a forest of some kind. So maybe he can use that to help them get out. So Lyndall recognizes forest sounds around them. Recognizes forest sounds from around them, wondering if there's a way through nature to get out. So Lyndall will pull Burrell out of her own thoughts. Burrell will listen, and she'll, sure enough, start to hear it as well. So at least they know where they're at. Now they need to figure a way out. So the question is... So we're assuming that there are windows in the... I'm assuming that there are windows in the cell just to make the story a little bit... just to make the story make a little bit more sense. So what do I want to do with that? What do we actually hear? Okay, so we're around a forest. I don't think that really does much for us. I wonder if rangers have a way to call on nature allies. Actually, maybe decayed means something different. So we do see a sarcophagus. Does either one of them have like a rope or anything they could use to pull the sarcophagus over? Actually, you know what we could do? Maybe Burrell could send a message to some of the animal friends. Actually, how far away would the spell have to be able to travel? If Burrell's going to try to cast message. Because that is a spell she has, and she'd have to be able to cast it as well. Let's see, message. Yeah, 120, well, 120 feet. So I guess is the forest for a creature within a range and whisper a message. You can cast this through solid objects if you're familiar with the target. Okay. So I think the question here is let's roll a perception check again for Burrell, but this time we want to see if there's anything in the sarcophagus that we can use. So this is escape. So we're going to roll another perception check for Burrell. She's looking for some kind of... So I guess the next, actually, we should probably, before we do that perception check, let's ask if there are any, if we can hear any animals. So this is going to be a listen check to see if either of them can hear animals. All right, a listen check is going to be on... Actually, there isn't any kind of listen on here, is there? So what would be the equivalent of like a listen check? This one I got to think on. So it looks like that's another perception check to see if they can pick up anything. Now they're listening for animals to see if they can hear anything. That's a 17, so 17 for Burrell, another 19 for Lindell. So they both can hear animal sounds coming from they can both hear animal sounds coming from the forest around them. So now Burrell's eyes are going back to the sarcophagus, which unfortunately we know is not open. But is there something maybe on the sarcophagus that we could use to cast a message? We would need like a short piece of copper wire, it looks like. Actually, if the sarcophagus was decayed sarcophagus, I was assuming the body was decayed. What if something on the sarcophagus is decayed as well? So, is there anything we can pull off the sarcophagus for a message? And given that this sarcophagus has probably been around for a while and is not in the best shape in the world, I'm going to modify that with a likely to get to a +3. So let's see if there's anything there that we might be able to use. That's a 4, which is still going to modify to an 8. No but. No but. No but. Let's go to keywords. Let's see, 736. Yes, 736 is foot. Foot. 281. Guessed. So Burrell and so it sounds like there might be footsteps coming through. Let's see. Let's make another perception check to see if they hear anything. Perception check. I think I know where I'm going with foot and guessed as keywords. But I want to see if either one of them pick up on it. I know we've been rolling a lot of perception checks. I'm hoping to make this get a little more interesting. That's a 7. So they don't hear anything, which means they'll both be startled to hear that they've got a guest. So now we've got a... Now I want to go back, see if I can generate... Now I should see if I can generate an NPC. So let me see if I can find some sort of NPC generator in here. There should be something I can use. Let's see. Chapter 13 in part 1, NPC generator. Here we go. All right, so now we know they've got a guest. So we're going to start rolling up who they're greeted by. Okay. Actually, is there something in part 2 that I might be able to use for that? If not, it's fine. I can come right back to what I'm doing in part 1. Nope, okay. We can come right back to the NPC generator. So first, let's start fleshing out our guest. 24, they're met by a human. All right, alignment, so we're rolling. So now we're setting everything up for alignment, profession, and gender, which is once again D100 rolls. 63 is female. Alignment. 65. 65 is lawful evil. Oh boy. And profession. 7 is a commoner. All right, rolling for age. So you hear footsteps from a 37-year-old. '92 baker. I don't know how a baker would be lawful evil, but sure. Class table. 2 is a bard. This just gets better and better. Let's see, level table. So this toolkit actually has everything that I would need. So another early level, around 1 to 5. And we'll determine what level exactly. Level 2. And then what kind of disposition and economic status they have. This is back to D100 again. 34, stressed. And economic status. 93 is royalty. Okay. So we've got a commoner and royalty. Those two don't seem like they. So maybe royalty wealthy. Maybe she doesn't realize it. Possibly. So why is she stressed? That's probably a question we should ask. I'm hoping to see some combat here at some point, but it's entirely possible that we might not. We might end up getting to a point where we just get them out of the. We might just get them out of the dungeon, and that ends up being the scenario. So keyword. That is a 686. 686 tedious. Tedious. Oop, hold on, wrong die. Give me the D8. All right, so that's going to be a 595 for the first keyword. So let's back up and 595 alcohol. So maybe getting, let's see, 717 demand. $683 mouth. Let's see, the name for this NPC, we'll call her Marilyn Smith because I'm coming up with a Marilyn Smith. Okay, so maybe she sees us and demands that the guard let us out. I think that's what we'll go with. So that still doesn't explain completely why she's stressed. Maybe she's been drinking. She sees us and wants drinking buddies, I guess. So demands to get us out. Guard actually does the guard obey her? Given the royalty, I'm going to call this a +3 on a likely. So I'm thinking that this Marilyn is maybe doing baker's things with maybe a baker and a bard as a cover in a way for royalty. That's a 16 plus a 19 plus 3 is going to be 19, which I believe is going to be a yes and, but I need to get to the oracle to check that. Yes. Yes and keywords. Let's see, 330. 330 cover. Okay, so Marilyn is demanding that we get let out, so we get let out of prison, but now the question is, what do we do with that? So Burrell will look to Marilyn and say, thank you. And Marilyn will say, I didn't do it for you. Something's wrong and I need your help to get this. Hey Jester, we're just setting a scene for we're just setting our first adventure here. I'm using the Solo Adventurers Toolkit to try out D&D solo. So now we have to get out of here, and you've been a little busy the last few days. I know you've been taking care of your wife who just had surgery, I recall. Hopefully everything's Hopefully everything's going well on that front. So Marilyn demands that we get let out, and she immediately passes out. So now we're free to move around. Free to move around, and let's actually try out the 60-12. Let's see if we've got a scene in here. Standard room. Yeah, we'll call it a standard room. So let's see what we've got in here. This is where we're going to try out the 60-12s that I've got here. And we'll flesh out this room like light. We'll just flesh out this room real quick. Thanks, yeah, she's doing okay. Takes a lot of my time, but you have to do it because she took care of me when you needed her. Yeah, that's how marriage usually goes, my friend. Hopefully everything is going well on that front. So let's roll up this room and we'll see what we get here. Wow. Actually, the black die didn't go through, so let's see what we've got. Okay. So now we read so red is a 10, which means there is a monster. Monster from red, and I think, yeah, nothing else in here. So now the question becomes, okay, what are we being confronted by in here? There should be a monster generator of some kind in here. Dungeon encounters, maybe? So let's take that as an encounter instead, since it doesn't really make sense for monsters to be in here. We'll call this an encounter instead. We'll see what we encounter in here. Managed to keep the die on the table at least. All right, that's a 49 on the encounters table. Let's see what we've got here. 49. An abyss runs into the passage, across the passageway, dropping down out of sight. Looking down, you see the entrances to various other tunnels, as if peering down through the middle of a colony of insects. The only way across this expanse is a series of floating discs. Yikes. All right, let me make a quick note of that, and then we'll decide how I want to proceed with that. So, abyss crossing via floating discs. Okay, so let's see if we've got a map for that. I don't know if we're necessarily... Let's see, something similar. Gotta run the war room starting soon. We'll check this out later. Well, hopefully everything goes... I may be breaking this off pretty soon myself. We may have a part 2 of this later. But... yeah, hopefully everything goes well with the war room in case I'm not able to stop by today. Maybe not the abyss, but I can probably work with something in here. Let's see. Let me just move this out of the way so I can... I'm going to move the dice tower out of my way so I can lay out this map and see what I want to do with this. As far as what we're going to need, it's probably going to be a series of dex checks, testing on acrobatics most likely. But like I said, let me lay out this map that I'm thinking of and see. Oh, thanks for the like on the video, Jester. Let me lay out this map and see what I think of it. This is going to be a pair of maps that I'm looking at putting together. Let's see, so something like that. I need to get both of these character sheets out of the way for this map in particular. That's not necessarily where Lindell's going on the map right now, so don't worry about that for the time being. Yeah, we can probably work with this. We'll just have to pretend that the lava is... We'll just have to pretend that the lava is flame, or the lava is the mosquitoes. Actually, let me bring these a little bit to the left here. I can probably get them in shot. Yeah. I do love these books with the maps. Yeah, these are definitely starting to grow on me, Jester. I'll be perfectly honest about that. Because I like that I can set up most any encounter that I think I need. And I've actually got quite a few books over here. I've got a Towns and Taverns set. I've got quite a few books of maps over here, which we'll probably start seeing more of on the channel as I do more with RPGs. So let's see what we can do with this scene setup here. So right now we're basically still trying to get out of this room. So this is the closest thing that I had to flying discs and to floating discs across an abyss with insects. So I think what we're going to do here is we'll bring them down and they realize what they're up against. So we're going to put the dice tower, I think I want it over here. Actually, we're probably just using this. We're probably just going to use this side, and I do want the dice tower over here somewhere. Yes, it's going to obscure the map on this side, but I'm thinking we probably only need the map on this side anyway. So let's roll our first pair of acrobatics checks. All right, acrobatics check 1 is going to be dexterity for both of them. All right, that's a 15. Lindell's clear, so Lindell will leap about 2 through, whereas Burrell will actually fall, will actually not be able to catch her footing, so she's going to have to try to make a dex save on that. So Lyndall lands on disc. Burrell stumbles. Can she make a dex save? It's going to be a plus. It's going to be a +2 on a dex save. That's a 6, so she actually does. So she's so she fails the save, which means she's not able to stabilize herself on the disc. She will stumbles. She grabs onto the disc, trying not to fall. So now they're going to have to make a oof. So I think Lyndall sees this, and he's going to panic, run over to Burrell's, and leap off of his disc, go over to Burrell. So he's going to make another acrobatics check to AC 2. This is Lyndall leaping over to Burrell. And he's going to take a difficulty of a... This is going to be a... We'll call this an easy check. That's a 15, so he will leap over to... He'll leap over to Burrell, and then he'll make a strength save to try to pull... He'll make a strength check to try to pull Burrell up. That's an 11 plus 2 is 13. So Burrell, yeah, we'll call that a success, which means Lyndall will pull Burrell up. And then Lyndall will try to leap back to his own disc since these are pretty small. Another 10 on that. That is a 10 plus 2. Actually, plus 3 is 13. So he will succeed and leap back. So Lyndall... Actually, so Lyndall's okay. Burrell is going to take a... Actually, Burrell... She's a little bit shaken up, but I think otherwise she's all right. So now we're going to make... So Lyndall's already had to make 3 acrobatics checks. So AC 2 for Burrell. And 4 for Lyndall. And once again, the same modifiers that we had before. Still an easy check. This time it's the other way around, where Burrell actually is able to leap to her next disc, but Lyndall stumbles. So Lyndall's actually going to try his hand at making a dex save now to see if he can regain his footing. That's a 9 plus 2 is 11. He will make his save, and he'll catch his footing. Just barely. They're both shaken up, a little bit rattled, but Lyndall is now clear. So we're going to make another series of checks. Still on an easy... Actually, this one's going to be a more difficult check. So we're going to call this a moderate check. Burrell rolls a natural 20, so she's clear. Burrell clears. Whereas Lyndall is very much going to stumble. Can he make a dex save? Let's find out. On a 15. That's a 13 plus 3 is 16. He will clear that. So they both get over the discs. And they're going to make a... We'll make this an easy check for this one. Actually, we'll make this a very easy check since they're getting back to a solid platform. These are both very easy, so a difficulty of 5. That's a 3 for Burrell. Plus 2 is a 5. Lindell rolled a 9 plus 3 is 12, so they're both able to get out. So they get through that, breathe a sigh of relief after that. Now the question is, did they manage to get out doing that? I'm going to call that a... Let's go back to the Oracle for a second. Where was my Oracle? Oh, right here. So I'm going to call that, let's call it possible that they got out. So no modifier on this one. 16, yes, they are out. So now they find themselves in town, having escaped, having basically been let out. So now they're back in town. Is there an inn in town where they can bed down for the night and get some sleep? I'm going to call that a highly likely. Which highly likely is going to add a plus 5 to the roll. That's a 12 plus 5 is a 17. Yes. So they will go seek out quarters and get some sleep after a long day, but they've got to do some investigation. All right. With that, I will put together another journal entry, and then I think that's where we're going to call it a stream. So let me, as usual, I'll put the stream into Be Right Back, and then I will make a journal entry. So I apologize that the story's been a little bit haphazard. I've been kind of writing this one up on the fly. So let's see what we actually have. So they bonded over their love of nature. There we go. Hmm. Okay, so we've got another round of story that we're all set with, and then I think we're going to call it a stream here. So this is our first entry. This is actually a fairly long entry since the scene ran for quite a while. So entry 1. Burrell and Lyndall were away from their home of Dexia due to Dexia being ravaged by a disease of some kind. They were in a nearby town and almost managed to find the answer in a certain well before they were captured. The two of them were trapped in a dungeon and locked away in a cell. There was a sarcophagus around them, but judging by the smell emanating from it, whoever was inside must have been decaying for a long time. They were around a forest of some kind, as Lyndall was able to discover, despite Burrell being lost in her thoughts. Burrell tried to get a message out to some of the animals, but her efforts to find a conduit for her spell were interrupted by a baker who had royal roots by the name of Marilyn Smith. She ordered the guards to let Lyndall and Burrell out of their cells in a drunken stupor before passing out. The cells were unlocked, and Burrell and Lyndall were free to move around. Starting to leave the dungeon, they were shocked to encounter a series of floating discs over an abyss. Sure, they would plummet to their deaths if they weren't careful. Burrell and Lyndall leapt delicately from disc to disc. Both ran into pitfalls, but they were eventually able to leap through the discs and found themselves out of the dungeon. They immediately found an inn and got some rest, but it was clear their investigation was far from over. That investigation, of course, will continue next time on the channel when we pull this game back out. But we're not quite done yet. I do need to get another bag here. Right here. Just for a new set of dice that I've got. Another plain set. But the reason we're not done yet is the part of the reason that I was late. That I was late getting this stream started, because I got a delivery in from Amazon earlier this morning. And once I get this cleaned up, we're going to crack it open here on the channel. So bear with me while I do some cleanup. But yes, I am definitely very much liking these map books, because it can let me set up for just about any possible setting that I would think I need. And in fact, one of the games that I got, I picked these maps up with one of the RPGs that I've been getting into in mind. So yes, a narrative-heavy session of D&D. My first solo D&D session ever, but my first D&D session period in well over 20 years. So I'm just getting the minis picked up. But yeah, I think we'll probably start seeing more of D&D on the channel, especially with solo. Let's get these minis off. Perfect. I think you go like so. Yep. Let's see. Oh, here we go. A couple of spaces here for bases. I'm doing this putting stuff away off the channel, off camera, of course. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this very short session of Dungeons and Dragons. I was hoping to get a little bit of combat in, but the way the story unfolded, combat just really ended up not working out for the session today. But again, we've not seen the last of D&D on the channel, that's for sure. And the Solo Adventures Toolkit actually worked really well for being able to generate an adventure from blank. So it really helped me. So the keywords table is actually very helpful in helping me roll up what kind of story I wanted to tell. And being able to write it up as a... Ow! Pinched myself putting this back in. Whoa, sorry about that. Didn't mean to slam the books down back into the slipcase. And I'm actually going to go grab a new pickup that I made from the game store earlier today as well. I'll show that off of something else I might be getting to the channel soon, so bear with me. Just about done here. And the books the map books can get put away. So yeah, these map books, like I said, are pretty darn slick. Where I can set up a lot of settings. I just need to envision what kind of narrative I'm putting into it. Get in there. There we go. Again, sorry for slamming books into slipcases and all of that. All right. Map books are put away, so now we'll go ahead and start showing off some pickups that I made earlier today, along with the unboxing and delivery. So first up, we had a couple of pickups from my local game store. I'll bring the camera back up. And one of the things that I picked up was the core rulebook, which just came out yesterday for Arkham Horror, the role-playing game from Edge Studios. You may recognize that name because that's the same company that makes the Star Wars role-playing games. So Force and Destiny, I believe it's Age of Rebellion, and Edge of the Empire, something like that. Those are the three games. And as a shameless plug, I will be putting Arkham Horror, the role-playing game, on the channel this coming Monday as another edition of Mythos Monday. So hopefully you guys are able to join me for that as well. Speaking of Mythos, we had quite a sizable pickup as well from my local game store today. Whew! Man, this thing is heavy. It's also from Chaosium. I'll go ahead and open the knife so we can crack this open. But as you can see, we've got the slipcase set for the Masks of Nyarlathotep for Call of Cthulhu. Actually, I don't even need the knife for this. We'll go ahead and tear this open, though. So this was, if you guys remember a test that I did a while back, when I started off doing the Darkness Beneath the Hill, I believe is the name of the adventure. Yes. A pre-written adventure in Call of Cthulhu. I actually had an eye toward potentially picking up the Masks of Nyarlathotep as in being an adventure that I might want to put on the channel. I was very happy with how that test turned out with Mythic, so I could see myself working through this using Mythic as part of a baseball off-season potentially. So definitely food for thought on that. And that thing is heavy as well, another slipcase going into the collection. But we're going to bring our last delivery into shot, and this one I just got earlier this afternoon from Amazon, literally right as I was going live. Feels pretty light, so let's crack this open and see what we've got in here. That's a weird angle. It's still not tearing It's still not tearing the way I want it to, which is a bit annoying, but I think... Let's see if I can have any luck from this side. Not much more luck, but enough to get the box open at any rate. Closing the knife. Get the craft paper out of there. And we see in here, once I pull the box out of the way, that we have got unlimited power for Force and Destiny. It's a source book for Mystics. I really liked playing my Mystic in Star Wars Force and Destiny. So taking a look at the back here. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, although the ancient Jedi Knights are the most notable Force users in the galaxy, they were not the only ones who learned how to use that mysterious power. On the edges of civilization, mystics sift through the forgotten lore of all Force-using traditions in hopes of discovering the secrets of many powerful figures of legend. Unlock your full potential with unlimited power. This supplement expands upon the Force and Destiny role-playing game, adding new content for mystics and other characters who desire to understand the mysteries of the Force. Walk the fine line between the light and the darkness as you master your abilities and unleash the true power in the galaxy. This supplemental rulebook includes expanded character options including motivations, moralities, species, and specializations, new signature abilities, and 2 new Force powers that allow characters to summon ethereal items, alter the landscape around them, and even animate the dead. Ooh, that could be interesting. New weapons, armor, gear, vehicles, and starships to aid mystics in their ongoing quest for knowledge, as well as rules for crafting alchemical potions and talismans. And expanded GM guidance for Force duels and for including Darkside Force users as player characters in campaigns. Ooh, that could be very interesting, but that will do it for this playthrough of Dungeons & Dragons Solo. Quite a lot of stuff still coming up on the channel. Hopefully you guys will check out Mystical Munchies, as that was live, or that was earlier this morning, out of the unofficial Disney Parks cookbook with the dessert, caramel pecan bites, or caramel pecan bars, I should say. As for the games coming up, as for what else is coming up on the channel, tomorrow we're playing ASG Golf. We're hitting the links once again. Tomorrow afternoon, we're also going to have the intro for Christmas in Arkham, and I can't believe that's coming up already. We'll also have a game stream of some kind tomorrow, I'm sure, but I haven't decided what game that's going to be yet. Monday, as I mentioned, we're doing Arkham Horror, the role-playing game, as a Mythos Monday. Then Wednesday, we're probably going to be somewhere in the Fate of the Elder Gods tournament for Christmas in Arkham. I don't know where yet, though. And next week, Mystical Munchies will finish out of the unofficial Disney Parks cookbook with the dessert, Jungle Juleps. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone.